And I'm back with chapter 13 from Column 30's White Girl Bleeds a Lot, Minneapolis. This is what it sounds like when liberals cry. After the first edition of this book came out, the dam broke. People in Knoxville, Charlottesville, Denver, Dallas, all over the country started asking, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? No, I had not. I guess I should get out more often. I had thought Minnesota was kind of quiet. Wrong. Totally wrong. It turns out Minneapolis has the strangest combination of black violence and official acquiesce in the country. Minneapolis has more than 20 episodes of violent racial behavior in the first half of 2012 alone. But let's start with the biggest. See, this is the problem with not having a modern day Column 30. And like I said, VDare has been taken off the internet, so I'm not sure where you can go to get these kind of like beat by beat reportings of kind of what's going on in terms of racial violence in the United States without bias. All right, let's start with the biggest. In Minneapolis in 2011, more than 800 black people marauded through downtown, fighting, breaking, yelling. Salon Magazine got mad at me for not supplying a better count. Hey guys, hey, the guys with the clipboard who hands out the numbers at these kind of affairs was on vacation that week. Sorry. Here, so it's 800 black people. Okay, destroying shit. Okay. A few days later, a gang of black women beat up a white woman in her 50s and a 4-year-old daughter after she was confronted by them harassing her children over some sunglasses. How many black women? A gang of black women. Oh, we don't know how many. Just a gang. Okay. A few weeks later, a large group of black people attacked some kind of mobile alcoholic beverage cart in Minneapolis, stealing, threatening, all the usual. The newspapers dutifully reported the crime and dutifully ignored the race of the attackers, except for the University of Minnesota student newspaper, the Minnesota Daily. The first edition of this news report said the attackers were black. Black. I don't like the way you say black. That was missing from the updated edition of the student paper. Anyone who noticed the attacker's race was racist. People at the paper said later. I didn't know newspaper editors in Chicago would love to hire these kids. In St. Paul in February 2011, 50 black people descended on a convenience store in a so-called mob theft or mob robbery. They stormed in together, their numbers overwhelming, and just started stealing. The video pictures tell the story. So much for the long, hot summer theory. People in St. Paul consider their city to be safer than Minneapolis. I don't know why. Then Lil Wayne and Drake are rumored to be playing at the largest mall in America. You know that can only mean one thing. Riots. A few days before Christmas 2011, 200 black people were fighting, smashing, grabbing, beating, stealing, and having a good old time doing it. If the audio on the dozens of videos are any indication, it took more than an hour to quell the disturbances, which began about 2:20 p.m. as a single fight involving a large group in a food court quickly spread through the nation's largest mall, said mall spokeswoman Bridget Jules. Bloomington police and mall security arrested at least 10 juveniles and young adults on suspicion of disorderly conduct, police said Monday. 10 people were arrested, all black. I guess it's time to break out my "it's a long, cold winter" theory to explain the violence. Minneapolis breaks out. The year 2012 started off with a bang in Minneapolis. Not satisfied with being known as the most dangerous city in the Midwest, they took it up a notch. The first part of 2012 alone, there were between 10 and 20 incidents. All, of course, Minneapolis police made sure to point out that race had nothing to do with it and the epidemic of violent crime in their own downtown. Crime reporter Matt McKinley called the flash mob violence and mayhem random and saw no other real patterns emerge. In his mind, the motivation for the attacks remained unclear. Police and reporters may have had a hard time figuring it out, but more and more people in Minneapolis are realizing their city is caught up in a wave of racial violence, featuring groups of black people, big and small, men and women, not young and not so young, marauding, I like to use the word marauding, through the downtown, beating, hurting, destroying, and stealing. Sometimes they do it right in front of police. Those pussies. There are a lot of witnesses to these events. There are at least 15 videos posted on YouTube from 2011 alone. In Minneapolis, the Star Tribune headline, Flash Mob Actions Worry Minnesota Police, tell part of the story. McKinley fills in some more details about one of those incidents from March 2012. We were just biking, the three of us, having some laughs, enjoying the night, said the cyclist, who didn't want to use his name out of fear for his safety. It was 7:45 p.m., and the streets were crowded with people enjoying the usual warming evenings, he said. Suddenly, some kids ran up to the man's friends and punched him in the face, breaking his jaw. Another 8 to 10 youth surrounded the cyclist, yelling and trying to provoke a fight. 2 police officers have been watching seven youths at a bus stop when they saw them suddenly surge towards the cyclists. Terrible. And the officer gave chase. The group fled with one of the victims' bike. Is that my bike? They ran through the seating areas. This isn't funny. In the Oakland Air patio, Poco, whatever, picking objects off the tables and throwing them at the bicyclists running after them. Eventually, 4 people were arrested, all black. The biker got hurt pretty bad, but they got off easy compared to the St. Patrick's Day mauling 20 black people inflicted on Minneapolis graphic artist named Peter. He suffered serious brain injuries, oh man, and now has no short-term memory. A local bank has turned videos of the crimes over to the police. He is afraid to use his last name. An hour before Petter was beat and killed and kicked into intensive care, 20 black people assaulted out-of-town couple in the exact same intersection. The Sun's Tribune may be squeamish about reporting the race of the criminals, but City Pages is not. This is another thing that's great about Column 30 is I feel like I would have given up if it's just like never reporting these incidents, but he just digs so deep, and he just found these reports, even from multiple sources if he has to. And there's so many violent incidents, and I'm sure Colin misses a lot, but man, it's great to have this, at least immortalized in a couple of these books. Okay, Melissa screamed as 3 separate youths came at Kirk throwing punches. Kirk says he was able to dodge the blows. He remembers one of the assailants smiling while he threw punches like it was fun. As people on the street started to take notice of the attacks, the mob disappeared, leaving Kirk one-on-one with a man he said was over 6 feet tall. I dodged several of his punches before he ran off, Kirk said, adding that he himself didn't punch anyone. I believe that if it wasn't for my wife screaming, I would have been seriously injured. Thankfully, he ended up with nothing more than a swollen neck. Melissa, 33-year-old schoolteacher, was punched, and one of her assailants burned her hand with a cigarette, she said. After the mob dispersed, Kirk and Melissa made their way back to Marquette. There, they talked to the police officers about the incident. Wrote Melissa in an email, the cop wasn't that interested in taking a report since we didn't have descriptions, just African Americans. I wondered how many people have been attacked since our story isn't even part of the stats. There's more. May 2012. Mob robbers hit convenience store in St. Paul. June 2012. 4 shot after argument leads to gunfire in Minneapolis. April 2012. Victims describe flash mob, quote-unquote, attack in downtown Minneapolis. The 8th one from February to May 2012. After dozens and dozens of attacks, shootings, beatings, thefts, active vandalism, mayhem, many not reported by the police or the media, the business owners want the chaos in downtown Minneapolis to end. They think part of the problem is that 2:30 a.m., all the clubs must be empty. It's like the beginning of a race. Lift up the doors and all of the horses run out. Celeste Shindahai, the owner of 2 buildings in First Avenue, described the scene. She thinks bars' closing hours should be staggered to prevent the rush. Police say club owners are at fault. Whatever. I agree. Jesus Christ. He's not here. City officials do not want any part of this return of racial violence business. We don't want to keep track of arrests by race, said police spokesman William Palmer. And frankly, no, it doesn't matter. We arrest people and prepare criminal cases for the consideration of prosecution for those people who choose to break the law. Race has nothing to do with it. Of course, if you watch Actual Justice Warrior, you know that's not true. You know that there are George Soros, funded left-wing radical attorneys that won't prosecute certain people because they're like, there's too many black people in prison. And they let these people out and they cause more crime. And this is so well documented at this point that we know that the woman that got killed on the train, Ivanka or whatever her name was, Ilya, she was the black guy that stabbed her in the neck and killed her. He was released. He had 13 arrests for like violence under his belt, and he was still released. So, and it's definitely not true in Chicago, where I know that the carjackings are so out of control. People are out on the street the next, not even the next day. They're out the same day. There was a case where a guy was carjacking a car, and he left Cook County, which is a county that covers Chicago, and they threw the book at him, and he went into jail for like 8 years, and he couldn't believe it. Right? He couldn't believe they got the jail for 8 years in carjacking, whereas Cook County, just an invisible line the government made over, you'd be out, within under 24 hours. That's interesting because the city does not seem to care about race when it comes to its hiring practices. The city does seem to care about race when it comes to its hiring practices. They keep track of the race of officials in its affirmative action, reporting, and recruiting. Of course. Yeah, make a note. This race isn't real. Fine, then double NCP. Go tell that to them. Go tell that to the ADL. Fucking assholes. According to the city website, the city of Minneapolis is aware of its commitment to equal opportunity employer, and the efforts necessary to meet the responsibilities outlined in the affirmative action plan. Karen HR bitches. The city's Department of Human Resources serves as a liaison through the Connection with the Communities We Serve program and maintains contact with the following community sponsors action groups, including the Black Storytellers Alliance, African Community Services. Let's see, we need the White Storytellers Alliance. We need the European Community Services. Minneapolis Urban League, Minnesota Multicultural Development Center, and other race-based groups. Nothing wrong with race-based groups, as we just found out. The city also has a policy of intensely recruit protected class persons, including black people. And if they are having trouble qualifying for the job, the city will provide tutoring and charge and change certification procedures to help some more protected class persons. Wow, that's a lot of life on easy mode, isn't it? So race apparently makes it to someone in the city of Minnesota, at least sometimes. And of course, this affirmative action is standard procedure at every police department in the country. Affirmative action standard, every police department in the country. Every single one. Remember that. Remember that next time you're being lectured about white privilege. Blogger Neil Karoff said the violence is more widespread than the police or media are talking about. One of my friends was robbed at Nicolette and 7th. They harassed her. Then one knocked her down, punched her head against the sidewalk, and took off with her cell phone. Well, maybe he didn't have enough affirmative action. Maybe he wasn't catered to enough by our government. The perps are, yes, you and I guessed correctly, male, black, 18 to 35. She's the 5th person in her circle of friends to be attacked. The Star Tribune is loath. Oh, it's so hard to discuss race. But many of the black people involved in the mayhem are not. They freely post their exploits on YouTube and brag about their crimes. Videos of groups of violent black people in Minneapolis are numerous, and some are even set to music. Oh, is that nice? McKinley and the police are not willing to talk about the violence and how race is part of it, but the readers of the paper, bloggers, and talk radio are. Let's stop being so PC. Let's stop being so fucking retarded. And talk about this. One reader said of the Star Tribune, it's a racial thing, isn't it? It's black youths who are the ones committing the vast majority of these downtown crimes, and they aren't the ones harassing people downtown. Will this comment be censored? Is it what I'm saying factual, though, or censored or not? It doesn't matter what you're saying is factual. They want you to shut up. There's no place for you in the society. Go away. Play video games. Masturbate. Be alone. Be sad. There is no doubt the crimes are happening, and neither is there any doubt that a large number of people in and out of the media are ignoring racial violence in Minneapolis. The next chapter shows how at least one reporter in Minneapolis got religion. Oh man, religion in Minneapolis. All right, that's for next time though. I think I gotta break these recordings up more, else I can't do it in one take. It's too much. All right, goodbye. Like and subscribe, please. Spencer McGreal out.